Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast here on Boss Rush Games. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me, as always, is the lore archivist himself, Mr. Josh Fitty.
Hello.
Hi, Josh.
Hi, Corey.
How's it going?
It's going, man. It's been a heck of a week, both in and out of Destiny. I feel like we say that every week, but that's because we're adults and our lives are ridiculous.
Yeah, we have responsibilities to take care of in a global pandemic, it turns out. Harder than it seems.
Very much harder than it seems. Yet, despite all that, I think this actually is the quickest I've started blowing through a season pass, maybe ever. The ironic part is, out of the group I regularly play with, I am probably the least far along.
Oh, really?
Which is hilarious. Yeah, so this morning, I played a little bit this morning before daily reset. Haven't been on since. I hit 1228 natural light. And for everybody listening, the hard cap is 1250 with the pinnacle cap being 1260 this season. With my artifact enabled, I go up to 1238. Obviously, I'm still on track to do the Deepstone Crypt this weekend, which is capped at 1230 for contest mode for the first 24 hours. Nothing above that will help you in the final encounter. All encounters, you're going to start out 20 light below what you're supposed to be for that encounter. So we'll see how futile or not Saturday ultimately is. But I am attempting it with our friends, Colonel Panic and Nerd Generalists. We've rounded up a ragtag, and I literally mean ragtag group of Guardians to tackle this. We're really looking forward to doing it. And if we manage to somehow get it done, you guys might get a small raid retrospective next week.
Yeah, I was supposed to do that with you guys, but turns out when we were supposed to have this big group like family picture thing on this past Sunday, and someone on the other side of the family passed away, so we had to
oh damn,
we had to reshuffle some things, and now the pictures are at 3:00 in the afternoon on Saturday. So,
which is 2 hours after we start racing.
I know. So, I was. Yeah. I mean, I'm upset that I'm going to miss it, but obviously, the situation calls for it, and there's more important things, it turns out, than a Destiny raid. So
yes,
and
I agree. I killed myself getting things done today so I could be free on Saturday.
Yeah. So I am excited to hear about it. I will be ready to run it at some point in the near future. Yeah. So, yeah, man. So we're a week and a half in. We're a week and a half in to Beyond Light. There's a lot to like. There's a lot to question. There's a lot to maybe not like. But
yeah.
How have you enjoyed your first 10-ish days, 9-ish days of Beyond Light?
I mean, I still largely feel the same way that I did last week. Last week we were just about 48 hours into it when we recorded this. I said I was really enjoying it. I beat the campaign. I was enjoying the narrative there. Since then, I've done the Salvation Script Exotic Quest, which I think is one of the most uniquely funny missions with regards to dialogue that Destiny has ever done. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't done it. Corey, have you done that quest by chance?
I'm part way through it. I started
Okay.
probably 4 or 5 different quests.
Yeah.
Plus, I was finishing up the extra story content this past week.
Yeah, I love that the story content doesn't end when the campaign does. I love that.
Yeah, so that I've been kind of working on that. I was trying to grind for stuff and get to do some pinnacle stuff and kind of avoiding that stuff because I was planning on raiding with you guys on Saturday and
right.
But since that's not happening, I kind of went back to my quest lines and okay, what do I need to finish? What do I need to do? where are the exotic quests. So I've been doing the Crucible one where with the duality.
Yes.
I've been playing a lot more Crucible than I normally do, and just wielding duality the whole time. Not the best decision I've ever made, but it's fun, man. It's
satisfying.
Yeah. It's also funny because like all the animations that they've done, because I'm playing on Series X now, and like you load into the level so fast that like even before like the Guardians stand there and do their cool poses, you're like already in the match and you're like, oh, can't even check my phone. Can't even make a tweet. Can't even respond to this message. It's crazy. Load times, man. Glad they're gone.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that my stance remains a lot the same as last week. I still think this community complains an awful lot whenever content releases come around. But there are some recurring criticisms coming about that I do really agree with. And we praised Bungie so much last time. It's not like I'm trying to go for parody here, but one of our main topics tonight is going to be talking about some of our favorite drops that we've gotten so far, and just some of the roles you should be looking out for. And man, I got to agree with the criticism of, and I'm going to give a caveat to it when I explain this. I think the loot pool is way too small. So we sunset almost every single gun in Destiny at the end of last season. And one of the criticisms has been that there were not enough new weapons added. By my count, including seasonal weapons, we have about maybe 16 new weapons, 16 new legendaries, not counting what'll come from the raid and not counting exotics. If you roll in raid weapons and exotic guns, you've got maybe 25 total. 25, 26 right now that you can earn. And that's not counting anything you could earn before this season. That's pretty disappointingly small for a major expansion of a game based around loot. This is a problem that Destiny has had for a very long time, and I think it's made exponentially worse now because the Europa guns you can mostly only get from 3 of them are locked to doing the Empire hunts, which is the bow, the machine gun, and the fusion rifle. I'm still not sure how to get. I think there's a grenade launcher for Europa. Not sure how to get that. Not sure how to get more rolls on the pulse, frankly, because I haven't gotten them to drop, and I've been hanging out in Europa doing strikes, doing lost sectors, all sorts of stuff. Haven't gotten another one of those to drop, except for the one I was given in the campaign. And that's a shame because I really like that gun. Mine just rolled with dog shit perks.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem long term for this game. There also seems to be a couple of really random legendaries that can drop. And I've got the list here pulled up. There is a random hand cannon. We don't know. I don't know what activity that drops from, frankly. It's a hand cannon called Steady Hand. Stars and Shadow is a pulse that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite new guns.
Yeah, I've been using that a lot, actually.
Drops like every other freaking round in PvP.
Yeah, but it's still like I really that's the gun I've been using with duality. It was the pulse rifle that you get during the campaign. I like that also. But yeah, this one that you get from what's it called? Stars and
Shadow.
Stars and Shadow. Yeah, I really like that gun a lot.
Excuse me. Okay, so Steady Hand will be an Iron Banner drop. That's my bad. So, oops, spoiler alert.
Oh no, spoiling some Iron Banner.
Spoiler alert. There's gonna be it's gonna be a 120 hand cannon, but yeah, that one will be around during Iron Banner. I was wondering why I hadn't seen it, and I'm sitting here looking at the image like, cause I don't remember the names of these guys. I'm so sorry, and I have the image full of like, oh, that explains it. That is the Iron Banner symbol on by the trigger of that gun. So yeah, you got that. Deafening Whisper is another one. That comes from the Wrathborn hunts. I really like that. Blast Batu is the season pass heavy grenade launcher. Thermal erosion is an awesome LMG. So like the new weapons that are good are really good. I want to be really clear about that. And I love the new perks. Like Bungie has done a really good job during Shadowkeep and now at the beginning of Beyond Light of introducing really good new perks. Last year, one of the ones that we saw take off was Vorpal Weapon. Instantly became a favorite to have on any gun for PvP or PvE. Just automatically a best-in-class perk. One of my favorite new ones for grenade launchers. This is actually, I believe, replacing either Full Court or Clown Cartridge as a like go-to perk. Mm-hmm. This is now the perk that you want on your grenade launcher, along with one of those. I think Full Court. I think it's replacing Clown Cartridge, because you can't roll with both of them thanks to slots. You want Chain Reaction. Final blows create elemental explosions.
Ooh.
You absolutely want that with spike nades. That is now the go-to heavy grenade launcher build. Not that spike nades with Full Court and Clown Cartridge isn't still good. If you've managed to get an Interference 6 that has that, keep it. Like, that is still a really, really, really good roll. That's what I use a lot of the time. That's still an awesome roll, but I'm already seeing myself kind of shake up what I use a bit. Not all of the bosses are spin to winnable, which I like. We're not building stuff that's going to be great for like 9 months and then having to find a new strategy. So I'm liking that. I like Thresh a lot, which is kills generate super energy, basically letting any legendary weapon become a bad juju of sorts. Wellspring kills generate ability energy divided between your uncharged abilities. Surplus kind of works in combo. I like Surplus with Thresh, handling reload speed and stability for each fully charged ability, and then One for All. If you guys don't know, I'm a huge My Hero Academia fan. One for All is All Might's quirk, and this is an absolute. This is a really cool one. Damaging 3 targets gives a damage bonus for a short time. Really good for your PvE mobs, I feel. But Thresh is for me, Thresh and Chain Reaction are two things like I want those on like everything possible right now, even if it means replacing my beloved Vorpal weapon. It's just there's so many good perks now that like us trying to ascertain a god roll on any of these weapons is going to be difficult, and I think that's why it makes the lack of loot even harder. You're really only getting, and they did address this in the TWAB today, that they're going to adjust the loot pool. I believe season 11 and 12 weapons that have not yet sunset are going to be added. So things like Falling Guillotine, the 7th Seraph bunker weapons, Killing Wind, or not Killing Wind, the gigantic bow from last season, False Promises, the auto rifle, probably Cold Denial, the pulse rifle, will all be added to the loot pool as of I think today's hotfix added them. I need to double check on that before I go spouting off, but I do believe that's part of what the hotfix today was doing. So when we talk about stuff like that, I do think that that's a good proactive step to take. Another thing, I think, frankly, there's not enough new guns. Still. Season only added 3 guns, 5 if you include the 2 that are part of the season pass.
Right.
There is always the potential for more guns to be introduced to the season pass or to the seasonal event. We're 48 hours into it. There is a chance for more. I just don't really see them going and adding a significant amount more.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think there's, like, if they were planning on sunsetting, don't you think they would have been like designing more, even if they were just like reskins?
So that's the $1 million question right now that we're trying to figure out. And that's why I've kind of latched onto this as the one thing that I can really agree with the nitpickers in this community about is why would you not have a foolproof plan in place? And they're taking a step to make the loot pool bigger. I should make sure everybody understands that they are adding rewards from the past couple seasons, which should have already been a thing.
Right.
We're gonna take a look at this. Okay, so November 24th, next
Tuesday,
next Tuesday at reset. These are the adjustments to loot that they are going to do. Remove all legendary weapons that hit their infusion cap at the end of this season. So I don't know what things are actually in the loot pool that are doing that, but they're going to take that stuff out. So anything that came out during Season of Dawn, essentially, it's gone, kaput, out of here. Add all of the 7 Seraph weapons from Season 10. Add all Season of Arrival, seasonal, and planetary reprisal weapons. So I'm taking that to mean the Ikelos SMG. I'm taking it to mean things like that. The Ikelos sniper rifle. Again, Cold Denial, Falling Guillotine. Like, these are great weapons for brand new Guardians or for maybe somebody who sat out last season. I personally know a few people who sat it out and are jumping in going, well, what the hell? I don't have any of the meta stuff, and I'm preparing for this raid.
Right.
Yeah, if you sat out last season, or heck, even if you sat out a lot of Arrival, or not just Arrivals, but Season of the Worthless, like...
I mean, I know a lot of people who sat out
nothing...
Shadowkeep and are like, what's happening? Like, what am I getting into? I'm like,
right.
I would at least recommend, like, reacquainting yourself with the other campaigns. Like, my one friend from work played a lot of vanilla D2 and stopped after the Osiris campaign. He's like, yeah, I'm kind of done. I'm like,
I don't blame him.
We kind of all were at that point. But then he's like, I got Game Pass. It's on Game Pass. I'm going to play Destiny again. What am I in for? I'm like, I would play through the campaigns at least to catch yourself up on at least some of the story stuff. I know you missed a lot of the seasonal stuff, but you should catch yourself up on at least some of that story stuff, and then, like, maybe, watch some YouTube videos on builds and how mods work and everything, because, like, that's all new to him. It's all new.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think that's probably my next. So, I guess let's finish up on the loot real fast. What they're gonna add. We're gonna jump back and forth into the TWAB. There's not a lot for us to have a dedicated TWAB section today. They did say that weight drop chances are adjusted so that the newer an item is, the more likely it is to drop for you. That's a big deal. That means that new players still have a chance. If you play this season, you've got a chance of getting that Falling Guillotine. You got a chance of getting a Cold Denial, a False Promises. You can get some of these, the Ikelos weapons. You can get these really, really, like, not meta-defining, but, like, best-in-slot guns.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be able to modify them the way that the Umbral Ingrams allowed you, which I think is fine. If you want those specific roles, I think that allowing you to pick your own roles during the season, because you played that season, like, you have that season's chalice, so to speak, like this season. You can pick which perks you don't want on your gun, instead of picking which ones you do, or you can pick your masterwork trait, things like that. I think that is great if you are playing the actual season. And now that seasons are going to go on for the full year, I do think the loot pool is going to get better. That is something we knew this was going to be bad no matter what happened. And I just think it feels bad right now. I think that once we get a season or two under our belts, we're going to go, okay, this is a lot better. I cannot for the life of me understand why the 7th Seraph or Arrivals guns were not already in the world loot pool when this game launched last week.
Yeah,
I do not understand why that needs to be fixed.
I saw a lot of people posting, like, well, 7th Seraph, if you're a fan. I'm like, oh, well.
If you, this is the time. Bust out those Warmind cell builds, baby.
Yeah.
This is the time for it. Other things I want to point out real quick in regards to loot that I do share the concerns of. I think it's laziness on the devs' part to give us the exact same set of armor for Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit, and only change the color.
Yeah, I think I touched on that last week. I was like, oh man,
Yeah,
this Vanguard armor looks cool. I might try it. I might like wear some of it. And then I went to the Crucible. I'm like, I wonder what the Crucible. I'm like, it's literally the same.
the
But it's
only
black and red.
justification I will give to that is, and I have a feeling Bungie views this the same way that I do, is why should we spend time developing this awesome set of armor that people are never going to wear? How many people out in the world, unless they are leveling, do you ever see wearing Vanguard, Crucible, or Gambit armor?
I mean,
You
that's
don't.
fair.
Nobody wants to look like a traffic cone or a stop sign or, well, the Gambit armor was actually kind of cool if you were a hunter. But, like, who honestly wants to look like that? It's the same reason why I don't use those shaders. Um, I believe this is like the third or fourth time I've said this. I would really love for them to. You can give me that generic bland ass armor. Give me a set of armor ornaments to earn, though. Maybe not throughout maybe not every season. I think that would be too demanding to have multiple sets of armor for multiple classes every single season. In addition to the seasonal set, the seasonal ornaments you get from the season pass. Obviously, they do an Eververse set. That's not counting if you have a raid or a dungeon. Give me a set of armor ornaments I can earn throughout the year, or like every 6 months you do an ornament refresh at the vendors or something. I don't know. Like, give me a long, and I mean a long quest in all three of those to let me earn some armor ornaments. You did this back during during Osiris and during Warmind. There were Crucible and Vanguard ornaments. There were Iron Banner ones. Like, this was before Universal ornaments were a thing. Like, can we get back to that? I think that would be really unique. I'd love an Iron Banner set like that, especially with Transmog becoming a thing soon.
Yeah, right.
I think that'd be really special. Let players earn some really cool looking armor that they're not going to have to spend in-game currency or real cash to turn the coolest armor in the game into.
Right.
I think that would be really special. So I do and don't get the vendor refresh argument. And as far as I can tell, there's no brand new mods for Beyond Light or for the season, which for me, that's the big bummer. There's not even like new Charged with Light mods or new Warmind Cell mods or something to like build on existing systems.
Do you think that has to do because they have a new subclass and they maybe they're trying to balance mods across all four instead of just like, I mean, I feel like they could have done that within the last 2 years. What this has been in development, right? But like, I don't know. That's it.
Let's talk subclass balancing next, I guess.
Okay.
The next big source of complaint, which I 100% agree with, is the Warlock class is too goddamn powerful in Crucible. That is an objective fact. You could activate your super. The super's runtime was 30 seconds, by the way, if you didn't kill them out of it. You could go from one end to the other. You could kill somebody and conceivably get to their spawn and kill them again, which happened to me more than a few times.
Mm-hmm.
You could get entire team wipes. On top of that, the class was also so broken in PvE that Glad and Clan Redeem were doing Last Wish. They one-shotted Riven when they all used their supers at the same time, as well as the Ogre boss partway through Last Wish. They were able to do this in a number of endgame encounters, which is why we were wondering, honestly, up until today, if the raid was actually going to get delayed if they couldn't get a fix out in time for that subclass.
Yeah.
That would 100% ruin a raid race. And I mean, just think how many people would be getting completions in the first 24 hours. All you have to do is have a Warlock. Cool, let me go run through the story real fast on my Warlock and bring it in.
Right.
Combine that with if you manage to get the Necrotic Grips, which is the Thorn Gauntlets, you were basically unstoppable as a Warlock.
Yeah. We did.
Go ahead.
I mean, before this expansion came out, we talked about that, right? Where like everybody, yeah. I mean, we've been making fun of Warlocks for so long, and now like the Warlock super looked so cool in all the trailers and everything, and now they're like,
yeah.
I mean, this kind of reminds me of like the sniper melee memes that were going around for the Warlock, and you know, early on, and it was just like, man, and let me tell you, playing Crucible, everybody is a warlock right now. Everybody. As somebody who's played, I don't know, probably 30 or 40 matches in the last week, like,
yeah,
everybody is playing as a warlock. So
it's rough. So they nerfed that today. Let me get the exact notes from the TWAB and from the patch notes. So they reduced overall stasis changes, how much damage you take breaking out of it. They reduced that by 20 points because you were essentially dead. If you taken even a single shot, when you burst out of that, you're dead. Resilience, the higher your resilience is, the more valuable it is. You'll take less damage. But the Stasis Warlock melee, projectile speed and the range were both cut. The speed by 20%, the range by half. The duration of the super was reduced down to 24 seconds, which I still think is probably too long. For light attack was reduced. And that's just across the board. They did more specific PvP changes. Your freeze durations went from 4.75 seconds down to 1.35. So that way, you basically have to use this as like a final push towards somebody. You can't just hurl it at them and then float on over to them. No, you have to throw that and then immediately begin your assault because they can still break out, run, and hide now. So that's really nice. The heavy attack from the super no longer affects players who are not encased. But Bungie does have an important disclaimer here, which I want to read these two paragraphs real fast because I think it's important to understand in the scope of testing these new abilities. We strongly believe in the Cosmic Ice Wizard fantasy and PvE, so we're trying to target changes where we can towards the PvP experience specifically. With Stasis, we've tried to push the sandbox in new directions, and that increases the likelihood we introduce something spicier than normal. When it comes to crafting new abilities, we believe the risk of shipping something a little hot is better than playing it safe and shipping something that doesn't get you excited. Absolutely agree. As always, we're going to be using data, playtesting, and feedback to help refine our direction and keep responding. This will not be the last change to Stasis this season. I think that's really, really important. With Nova Warp was so broken, it took them almost a full season to get to it. Blade Barrage ran rampant for 2 or 3 seasons before they nerfed that thing into the ground so much that unless you're in Mayhem now, it basically doesn't help you. Yeah. It's fine as a panic super in PvP, and I like using it, but now in PvP, I'm like, why would I want to use anything other than Stasis? Like, that's easily the best Hunter super to me right now.
I mean,
for somebody who plays the way that I do,
it's almost the best super across the board at this point. Like, even as a Titan, it's like, it's, I mean, just the added mobility of the Titan
so long,
alone.
I feel, since we had a dominant super. I mean, Spectral Blades, yeah, I know everybody complains about Spectral Blades. It's like, it's actually like, if you have one use super, it's so easy to get rid of a Spectral Blades, though. Even a roaming super is so easy to kill them out of.
Yeah.
With it, you get heavy, they're done. Like, Hunters are toast when heavy comes out. So I think it's about time they had something they can just like hurl across the map and let it just destroy its way back to you. I really like how it has a mind of its own. You can't really control it after that initial throw, which I think is part of the nature of the beast, right? Like an ice tornado, you can't control that. That's nature. I really like that, but the final thing I want to touch on that I understand the grievances with the community, and our own nerd generalist had a gripe about this one too, and a very valid one, I might add at that. Bungie this has become jokingly season of the nerf. They have disabled so many activities in the last 2 weeks because of things they have to make, because things are broken, etc. The Exodus Crash Strike, for instance, they had to disable because the spider tank wouldn't drop at the end for you to be able to progress. They had to disable a legendary Lost Sector the other day because there was a hole you could jump up, get to the back of the Lost Sector, run through part of it, jump off, kill yourself. You would spawn back up by the chest with one enemy there. the wizard. Pop the wizard, and the boss comes through. When you kill the boss, you could open the chest and get one of the new armor exotics. Both my friend Matt and I did that. He ended up with necrotic grips. I got the new hunter exotics that allow you to throw a knife off 2 surfaces. Not 2 hours after we found out about this. Like, I wouldn't even say it was 2 hours. It was about 2 hours after Glad was telling people about it, after he tested it himself. Maybe 20 minutes after we actually did it ourselves, it got nerfed.
Yeah.
They disabled the lost sector immediately. They disabled moon bounties that were giving like 350% extra XP last week. That's how the people you see running around that are like level 150 on their season pass already, it's probably a safe bet that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
Were those moon repeatables, or they just are flat out no lifing it at this point. There's a nice way to say it. They nerfed there's been 2 different loot caves, I believe. There was a lost sector that we were all running into and spamming to get like 3 legendaries at once to hit the soft cap.
That was the one on the EDZ.
Yep.
Yeah, I was doing that too.
Still bugged. It's still bugged. If you go in through Lake of Shadows, you can farm filling up your lure for the seasonal object, the seasonal chalice. You can fill it up in like 4 runs.
Yeah.
With 3 full lures. It's hilarious. There's a mod duplicating glitch going on for the seasonal artifact. I've got like 15 of every mod right now, I think, because I just went ahead and did it yesterday. I sat down for 10 minutes and did it on some of my more rare ones that I couldn't straight up buy from Crow. There's just hilarious things going on left and right, but a common complaint in the community, and I absolutely agree with this, is Bungie is so fast to disable something that might benefit us. See the Bright Ingram glitch on the Leviathan last season.
Mm-hmm.
And then it takes a long time to fix something that is negatively impacting us. Like, for example, Pinnacles were not dropping above 1250. They were glitched. Powerfuls weren't dropping correctly for some people, but yours truly included. That's hilarious to me, is that they've said part of the server maintenance that they did and part of the update they did, title update they did, is what's allowing them to fix things so quickly or to disable something that's breaking the game. They're like, we realize, and basically it's like, you have to take the good with the bad. Like, if something is actively breaking the economy of the game, something that's intended to be an end game reward, like a Legend Lost Sector or a Master Lost Sector is supposed to be hard. Mm-hmm. It is. And I say that as somebody who benefited from this bug.
Yeah.
I did not expect to get these this season. I expected to wait it out until next season or until I got my power level above 1250 and then attempt to go in there and fight all this stuff by myself.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd actually finish it up this season. So it was kind of cool to be able to get those. But at the same time, I hate that dog so much. If you can hear the dog inside barking over my mic.
Oh, I can hear it.
And he barked. We have an interior hallway outside, and it's all concrete out there since I live on the first floor, so it all echoes. You have to take the good with the bad, though. So, like, yeah, they can disable something like Exodus Crash. They were, able to disable it, throw a new Nightfall in there. Awesome. But that also means that if they recognize something like this, that, we didn't intend for this many people to be able to get this, at least this early in the season, that means you maybe got to disable it. I think that maybe a more fair compromise would be, okay, the community figured this out. Let's let them have fun with this, and not just the streamers who are playing during the day. Let's give everybody a chance. We'll disable a daily reset tomorrow or something like that. I think that would be a more fair compromise.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that was no generalist thing. He was like, how are you supposed to get this if you're not constantly following these mega streamers or sitting at your desk all day? How are you supposed to do this? Like, if you have a real job.
Remember when, what was it? Prometheus Lens was broken, and they
Laser
said,
tag weekend. Yeah, they gave us an emblem and everything.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you, like, just let people do that for like a week? Like, who cares? You know, I mean, so here's the thing, like, those lost sectors rotate every day, too. Like, why not let it play out until the daily reset the next day, and then just say, hey,
we got to remove this and patch it. So it's not going to be a Legend Lost sector for a little while, or like something with arms isn't going to be available for a little while because we got to patch it. Like, stick tight, guys. Like,
yeah,
I would have accepted that had you would have just been letting it go for like 12 hours, like 12 extra hours. Who is that really hurting? How many people are for this game are that tuned in to Reddit or Glad's Twitter and are figuring out how to do this?
Right.
I'm going to guess like maybe a quarter of the player base at the absolute most. And you still have to be a proper level. When you get in there, you still had to be like 1230 something with your artifact to be able to kill that boss quickly enough without him killing you, because you only have like 3 revive tokens and you waste 1 doing the glitch to begin with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't get it, man. But I do understand the gripe from the community. And Bungie, come on, you guys said you were going to be a little bit more lenient on us. Like, maybe the next time, unless it's like blatant, like you're duplicating enhancement prisms or something, like, or it's dropping like 10 extras or something, like, feel free to like let us play around with it for an evening, or disable it in the middle of the night when we're all asleep or something. Like, I don't know, like give some people a chance to enjoy it. Like, that's half the fun of this game, especially with a new release, is how much shit can we possibly break?
Right.
Like, I mean, Warlock Supers were melting Gambit bosses instantly. There's just so many things going on, but enough about the negative. Corey?
Yeah.
I want to talk about my new son. I brought him home. I brought him home on Sunday. We're doing great. He's got 3 little siblings that can all sit on top of him as ornaments. His name is appropriate. It's Adored.
Yeah.
I like how the joke, and I bought into this joke too. Oh my god, it's Beloved 2.0. Oh my god, it's reskin Beloved. This gun is awesome. There's no way to put it. You have 2 different perk sets to choose from on your gun. You don't have to choose them when you get it. You can swap them at any time. But the 3 perks that I've been using the most on it are Triple Tap, Snapshot Sights, and Vorpal Weapon. And let me tell you, Vorpal on a sniper is awesome in the Crucible.
Yeah.
I really, really, really like this sniper a lot. I like the ornaments for it. It just changes the towel on it from looking menagerie-like to representing Vanguard, Crucible, or Gambit, respectively.
Yeah.
This is how a Pinnacle Quest should go to me. You get to pick which activity you want to earn it in, first off. But all the while, whatever you're doing is, in pursuit of this, is building up towards the final objective for each of your ornaments, to the point where, if you've done, like, for the Vanguard ornament, you have to kill 50 bosses. Well, I chose Vanguard for mine initially, so I had already beaten that. Imagine my surprise when I pick up the Crucible and the Gambit ones, and I've already done Moats Banked, and I've already done Guardians Killed for Crucible. So I just have to worry about getting my sniper kills then, which for Crucible or for Gambit and Vanguard was, snipe 80 enemies and get 20 rapid multi-kills. They only have to be headshots. They have to be multi-kills. And then for Crucible, it was get like 70 kills, like 70 Guardian kills or something, or maybe even less. Like maybe it was 50. I think it was 50, actually. And get 20 precision headshots. Like, cool. This isn't something I had to bang out right away, but I did because I knew I'd forget to get back to it. Like, and this is a quest that's going to be up all year long as you purchase the Season of the Hunt. Like, seasonal content is always going to be available to go back to. I think this is a great first step for them in terms of Pinnacle quest lines. I think this is how they should be done, frankly. I really, really like this sniper, though, as someone who doesn't like snipers. This is a fantastic gun. Do not dismantle it or infuse it, though. You cannot yet pull it from collections. There's a bug with collections right now. That will not let you reacquire it, but it's awesome. I have a feeling that this is going to be sitting in my inventory going into the raid. So, go get Adored as quickly as you can. The quest to get Adored, honestly, isn't too bad.
Yeah.
I did the Vanguard one, had most of that knocked out like in a day or two. For me, the harder part was doing the Crucible ornament. The Gambit one, I did in like 2 matches. The Vanguard one did in like 2 strikes. The Crucible one definitely took a bit longer, but still didn't take me more than an evening.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely better than doing the stupid aspects. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So
I really like the way that weapon looks. I almost like the non-ornament version the best, but
I think I do. I frankly think I do. I really like the Gambit ornament for it, but I also just really like the plain ornament. And I think that's the hallmark of some great weapon design. You don't have to slap a shader or an ornament on it to make it look good.
Yeah.
And especially with legendary weapons, I know how tricky that can be. So I dig it. I really dig it. I think it's an awesome weapon. It's a great pinnacle to introduce.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I really like it.
Corey, what are some roles that you've gotten on some weapons that you've really enjoyed?
Man, I don't really know about any roles yet, just because I haven't
Gotcha.
I haven't spent enough time. Like I've probably spent like 12 or 15 hours in the expansion so far. Like I've just been kind of busy doing other things, and I haven't had much time this week because well, when you have a 2-year-old that won't go to bed and you have to be up at 5:30 for work, that's not really giving you much time to game. But I really like the Stars and Shadows pulse rifle. I really like it. I'm not really a big pulse rifle guy. I'm usually an auto rifle, scout rifle type guy, but like I don't know. I'm really digging the pulse rifles this season. I like the one you get in the campaign. I like No Time to Explain. Somehow between the last 7 years and the last week, I've turned into a pulse rifle guy. I don't think I've used a pulse rifle since that. What was the one in D1 that everybody was using in the Crucible for so long?
Bad Juju?
No, it was a legendary Vanguard one.
Oh God, I know exactly. In Destiny 1?
Yeah.
I can't remember, dude. It's been too long.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was the last time I used a pulse rifle. Was then regularly. Unless it was like part of a quest or something.
Yeah, so everybody who plays with me knows how much I adore my Blast Furnace from Black Armory. I got the curated drop during Black Armory, and I literally do not think it ever left my primary slot, at least like those 9 weapons you can carry at any time, until Beyond Light launched. I finally had to take it out after almost 2 full years of being in my inventory because it's now sadly been sunset.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Whew. I'm really, really liking Stars and Shadow. I like the one you can get in the campaign too. This is for me this is like redemption for pulse rifles.
Yeah.
As well as an awesome legendary LMG. I really like thermal erosion. I haven't quite gotten the role I want on the grenade launcher, so the verdict's still out there. I think the other one I would recommend to everybody to try and get a really good roll on is the new primary SMG you can get from Season of the Hunt. That thing is so ridiculously stable and just shreds in PvE content. I really like it already. I haven't even gotten it to roll with Vorpal yet, but that's absolutely what I'm grinding for right now. I love it so much.
Yeah, I really like the SMGs this season too. Like I don't know, man. Like my whole arsenal has changed in this season. It's just been really fun to play around with different stuff. I mean, I know a lot of people were worried about sunsetting, and we kind of talked about the pros and cons of the sunsetting, the weapons and stuff. But like, it's really forcing me to play different and use different weapons, and I'm really liking changing up my playstyle. I've been using, let's see, in Crucible, I mean, I've been using Duality too, which I really like because, like, I like running around with a shotgun without having to aim down sights to get an accurate shot on somebody, which most of the time you don't really have to, but they're the ones with the hip fire perk on it. Like those are my jam. Like shotguns with the hip fire perk are great, except for like it's really hard to get close to people now this season. I
like a lot of ranged combat, so this has been a great season for me so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I look, I suck at PvP. Anytime I have to do it, I'm usually running a shotgun with some shoulder charge in there. I'm that guy.
Right.
I'm that guy. Okay, I'm not gonna hide it. I'm not gonna hide it. It's how I play.
Hey, no shame. No shame.
But I have been playing the mid-range game a lot in Crucible recently, and it's just like it feels good to get some of them kills when you see somebody jumping over a barrier and then they're trying to like shoot you from the air and you're like, nope, take him down with a pulse rifle. It's good.
Right. So we haven't really touched on it yet, but Corey, have you touched any of the seasonal content for Season of the Hunt?
I have not touched Season of the Hunt. I've been watching some stuff on it because I wanted to be prepared for tonight. I'm actually tackling a lot of it tomorrow night with Mitch. We've been planning on tackling a lot of it together this weekend just because our schedules are similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the Osiris stuff is super interesting. The Crow stuff is interesting. Like it's.
I guess let's do it. We're doing a mini lore corner this week, guys. I'm working on some big deep dives. What we're about to discuss is stuff that is on Bungie.net. They've released 3 lore chunks since Beyond Light came out. 2 huge ones about Osiris, and 1 about Crow. And we're going to touch on the stuff that you get at the very beginning of the season. So nothing that you won't get thrown at you in the intro quest. Basically, Osiris is on a mission from the Vanguard when we pick back up with him. We know that he was investigating the pyramids out in the far reaches of space before Season of Arrivals. We had a lore drop about him and Sagira going out there and encountering the pyramids, and Osiris came back into the ship and was feeling a little different, so to speak. He went out there after the encounter we saw with Rasputin. He goes to each of the sunset planets, basically as the pyramids in the darkness are overtaking them. Reports that Titan and Io are completely lost to darkness. Mars, he obviously knows that Ana has evacuated. He says that Sloan and Asher are missing. He does not make any mention of Vance, which is absolutely hilarious to me. Instead of trying to save Vance, he goes to the lighthouse and ransacks Vance's lighthouse and takes all the artifacts from the Cult of Osiris with him,
which is hilarious.
That's great
because it just means like he hates Vance just as much as we do.
He does. They made it canon that other people hate Vance. And there is, the whole Trials lore book really goes into why Osiris can't stand this guy. Why him and Marisov both just hate Vance so much.
It's so funny.
So that basically concludes part 1. It's him going to the sunset planets, and there's a lot of meaningful talk with Sagira there. Then he goes to the Dreadnought and enters through the giant hole that the Cabal made and that we placed Cade's beacon at and stuff. And when he's on the Dreadnought, he intercepts a message calling all remaining Red Legion forces back. And he assumes it to be from Khalidi, from Callus's daughter. And she says that we're going to go and we're going to hunt down the false emperor and the traitor Callus. Osiris starts chasing those messages. He traces them to the Tangled Shore, which leads him to encountering the spider. He then traces them to the moon, and he goes into the depths of the moon. And this is where because he's been hearing this voice in his head. He realizes he's been played when he gets into the depths of the moon. Xivu Arath, Oryx's other sister, is here. She's not hypothetically coming. She is in fact here already, and starts sending hordes and hordes and hordes of hive at Osiris. And if there is ever a lore entry I wish so desperately we could have gotten as a cutscene, it's this. He double dawn blades. He's hurling Nova bombs left and right. He fires off multiple chaos reaches. He is showing why he's the most powerful guardian ever. And it's still not enough to beat Xivu Arath's hordes. Osiris is gravely injured. He asks Sagira to leave him, get to the city, and tell Saint and Zavala what is happening. And Sagira is basically like, disobeys him and is like, I'm not leaving you behind. This is one of the most prominent times we've had a major character die off screen. Sagira sacrifices herself to save Osiris. She uses all of the Traveler's light that is within her to extinguish the hive. And it's said in the lore that her explosion is so bright that it lights up the pyramid on the moon for days. So when we pick up with Osiris, when we pick up with Season of the Hunt, it's a message that we've received from Zavala's giving it to us, dispatching us to Luna, telling us that rescuing Osiris is our top priority. His ghost has been destroyed. He's on his last life. We need to get him back to the city. Whatever differences the Vanguard and Osiris may have, like, they cannot afford to lose his knowledge. They can't afford to lose his knowledge, his intellect, etc. And if you go to the tower, he is in fact chilling in the courtyard now.
Yeah.
Not too far from Mycora and from Hawthorne.
Hawthorne's still there.
When you get Hawthorne is still there. She is no longer the worst character in Destiny, though, thanks to Shahan.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude. Side tangent. Roaming there was a mission in the Cosmodrome, right? He's like when you I think it's part of, I forget what mission it's part of, but like you meet him and I'm just like, I'm so glad I didn't do the New Light quest. This guy's the worst.
It's so bad, dude. It's so bad. He is easily my least favorite character, and just the way that his character is animated really bothers me too. His eyes are like always looking off screen.
Yeah,
like I'm the king of not looking at people in the eye, and I know how much it really bothers people. And when I see video of myself doing that, I'm like, oh god, is this what I look like?
It's
it's bad.
He looks like somebody who like went out to cosplay as a guardian in like the Cosmodrome, and somebody's taking pictures of him someplace. You know, like
it's not great.
No, it's not.
So yeah, going back to my boy Osiris. We finally get to that point that we saw in the Season of the Hunt trailer and it explains why he's able to be knocked down by such a basic looking knight. His year 1 scout rifle falls to the ground, his Curse of Osiris scout rifle, and then a sword pierces the knight, and we see behind him Uldren Sov, reborn as the Crow, and his ghost Pulled Pork, who has now been christened as Glint.
Not calling him that. Never
I'm not
calling him that.
They are. I will call him Crow. He's earned a new life, but that ghost will always be Pulled Pork to me. Always. So they save him, and a lot of the seasonal dialogue you get in the Wrathborn Hunt missions subsequently is Glint or Pulled Pork, Crow, occasionally Spider will pop in, and Osiris. It's really them. You are immediately when you pop into a load screen after that cutscene. Osiris goes to the last city. We don't see him do it, but he goes back to the city. You go to the Tangled Shore with Crow, though, for an audience with Spider. And Spider's like, I specifically said, bring me Osiris. I've worked with this guy before. I don't want him. I want Osiris. I want the most powerful guardian ever. Crow explains what happened. Spider's like, okay. Like, Spider 100% knows who Uldren is, and he hasn't told him. Instead, what he's done is he's taken Uldren into his employ. And we get a big lore drop. The final piece that Bungie had put out for us is really all about Pulled Pork and Uldren, and them kind of hiding out. Like, a lot of the Fallen know who he is, and like, I mean, the Sov name is still to be feared. Like, they still know him, and Pulled Pork is debating how to tell Uldren about his past. He knows he's gonna have to, because he's like, I don't know why some of these guardians look at me with such hatred. And both Spider and Pulled Pork have been like, oh, you come from the last city, like there's lots of old friends there, and this and that. And Spider had intercepted him before he went to the city, brought him into his employ. We hear from that lore drop that there are wires that stick out of Pulled Pork. And Spider confirms it to us when we have our audience with him. He's essentially suicide squatted Uldren and his ghost. If Uldren ever wanders too far from the shore or from where Spider wants him to, boom, he'll kill his ghost. So I just got to say right now, friendship with Spider ended. Uldren and Pulled Pork are now my BFFs, regardless of what they did to Cade. Well, regardless of what Uldren did. Pulled Pork had nothing to do with this. But you can't just do that to a ghost. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't just put a bomb inside of a ghost. So that is a problem that I do wonder when we're going to reckon with that. But safe to say, there is a reckoning coming for that. And I don't think it'll be until the end of this coming year, when the Season of the Hunt stuff is taken out of the game, so that he can leave the shore.
Yeah.
Or when the shore gets vaulted. I do think we're going to have to deal with Spider at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, it's a huge insight. Like, he's so different than how Uldren used to be. He's got this cocky, charismatic swagger. He literally feels like a brand new character, which is the whole purpose of being reborn as a Guardian.
Right.
And I think it's so cool that we essentially get to see a new light. And he talks to us about how much he reveres the light, how special it is that we've been reborn and this and that. He almost sounds like a street preacher sometimes. It's really cool. And he's like, I don't know you, but you feel familiar, and you get an object in game that it's automatically sent to your postmaster, but it's a letter from Osiris, basically begging us not to tell Uldren who he is, or who we are, what our connection is. And for the love of God, he literally tells us not to kill him. Not to kill him again, because that's going to create unnecessary problems and it won't be satisfying to us. That for now, we have to treat him as he is. He's risen. He is risen as a guardian. He has deemed him worthy. Which is just the craziest thing. Like, when we killed Uldren, did you ever think he was going to... the cutscene that we saw in Black Armory aside, did you ever think Uldren would, one, come back into the story, and two, be reborn as a Guardian?
No.
I don't think any of us did.
No.
Like, he as far as we were concerned, outside of Oryx, he's probably the most heinous villain that we've ever encountered. Like, he killed Cade. He killed Cade. He's destroying the reef. He's trying to destroy the awoken Holy Land, essentially. Like, and now for him to be reborn as a Guardian, to not know anything, and for Spider to have so carefully kept him to the Tangled Shore and not let him go elsewhere, not let him go to the reef, not let him go to the Dreaming City, not let him go to the actual last city on Earth. Like, there's a reckoning coming there, and that is a plot twist I did not foresee.
Yeah.
I of course was adamant we were going to run into him on the Cosmodrome. I did not think we were going to run into him in the Tangled Shore and have him be in the employ of probably the worst person for him to be working for, frankly.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, for sure.
Spider definitely has his own private guardian, which is what he's wanted since he met us, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the narrative of Season of the Hunt is really interesting. I can't wait to see how they, kind of let this play out, because obviously there's a lot more to go. There's a couple lore books that are completely tied to this, which require a lot of grinding to unlock. So I'll be grinding those out over the next couple weeks. We'll do some lore corner segments on that and on some of the stuff that the Stranger is telling us. Just some huge ramifications. We kind of touched on this last week, but one of the big things that the Exo Stranger introduces to us that I think has largely flown under the radar of this community is time travel.
Yeah.
With that, literally anything is possible now, and we'll go into her Dark Future lore book more specifically as this season goes on. We're waiting for the last 2 pages to actually drop in-game before we cover it. They are on Ishtar Collective now. If you've unlocked everything up to this point and can't resist like I couldn't, there's essentially a hint given that the timeline that she's from, that the Traveler basically sent her back in time, and what we are living out now is her actively trying to change the past, like essentially inferring that she's caught in a time loop, and every time she fails, she's sent back. And Europa is kind of the crux of all of that, because when we fell to the dark, the whole timeline went to hell.
Yeah.
And since we've resisted it this time, she's hopeful that we can change it. There's something in one of the Lost sectors as you're doing the Born in Darkness quests. You see the reunion of Elsie and Anna. Anna doesn't take it well, understandably. Like, there's so much to take into account here. And so many deep lore threads that we're going to have to do. So much Clovis Bray talk to be had. You have to do Clovis Bray 2.0. We just did Braycore and Stranger not too long ago. We're gonna have to do them again probably in December. We're gonna do specific lore books. There's a lot to be had. And the lore is more accessible than ever. So many things that have only been talked about in the lore or hinted. So, I mean, Stranger being Elsie was a fan theory for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's finally been confirmed canon. We're like, oh my god, this is incredible. Like, we're actually getting this. And so it's shocking a lot of people going, oh my god, are you serious? Like, Anna had a sister? And I'm like, yeah, so dude, so like, we've been waiting years for this. Like, those of us who love the lore so much have been waiting so long for this. For Sivu Arath, for Crow.
It's crazy all the seeds that they plant, even as far back as like the Taken King with what's going on now is like, man, this is just like, there's so many seeds that they planted and are making their way into the story now, and it's just like, I don't know, it's so good.
This is what they wanted to do, and I have no doubt that they would not have been able to realize these as fully as they are had they remained with Activision. I don't think they would have been able to. And I think that's part of the beauty of this. I think that's why so many people continue sticking with this over other looter shooters is, yeah, there may be a loot problem with the game and its core expansion, and the seasons always build on this. We come back to this every year. We go in the same cycle. By the end, we're like, oh, this is a pretty great year for loot. And then we get back. Then the new expansion comes out a couple months. They're like, oh my god, we hate you, Bungie. Why do you keep doing this to us? But for all of that, the lore is at the absolute best place it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Where we're getting some of these exotic from, I mean, literally, Salvation's Grip, we basically heist it out of a fallen city. It's awesome. It's a great mission.
Yeah.
It's a hilarious mission. The dialogue from that, it might be like, it made all the annoyances of Ghost in the campaign completely worth it. It's fantastic. There's so much, like, we get Drifter fleshed out a bit more in the post story content. Varix has so much to do. Varix knows that there's a reckoning coming for him eventually, that he will not escape judgment. And he says, I will accept judgment for what I've done. Like, I was wrong. I was wrong to do what I had done. And I would kill to see his reaction when he finds out that Uldren is alive as a guardian.
Yeah.
Mara has a part to play in this. There's an audio message from her in Zavala's office, which was the lore were really cool about Osiris because they were condensed into like sound bites that you could listen to in Zavala's office.
Yeah,
and I think you still can.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's the kind of world building I want to see. He sent back the Fang of Sivu Arath. That's our seasonal artifact, and there's so many cool things going on right now with the Wrathborn Huns and with that, and it's just, I think it's in such a good place. There's just a few things that need to be fixed, namely with the loot, namely with the fun killing. The fun police needs to ease up just a little bit, but I can't wait to do the Deepstone Crypt. I'm wrapping up. We wanted this to be a shorter show tonight. The Deepstone Crypt hits on Saturday. When y'all are listening to this, Deepstone Crypt is less than 24 hours away. I can't wait. I have waited years upon years for this. As someone who has played an EXO since the Destiny Alpha,
mm-hmm.
I've waited more than long enough for my answers about the EXOs. The Awoken basically got an entire expansion in Forsaken and with the Dreaming City and all that. We got all their lore. We're finally getting that spicy EXO lore. And it's genuinely awesome to see how much care and how much time they've taken with doing this. And we're going to the place where the Exos are supposedly created, which I still maintain I think is going to end on the Vex homeworld or on a Vex Forge. We'll see in about 24 hours when you're listening to this.
by the way, the Braytech facility on Europa is one of the coolest looking locations.
Mm-hmm. It makes you feel like I'm in like Star Wars or something. Like I'm in the cloning facilities from Camino.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like to me, or like the Jedi Archives or something like that. It's so cool. It feels distinctly different from anything that we've seen in Destiny. It feels to me like what the labs on Venus should have felt like.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or some of the facilities on Mars or something, and it's just such a special time.
The Clovis Blair facility on Mars had some of that, but not nearly this much.
Yeah, I should clarify. I meant Clovis, or not Clovis. I meant just like Destiny 1 interiors.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, no, they started progressing there with Destiny 2, especially with the Warmind facilities.
Mm-hmm. The Warmind facilities were cool.
Like, this is the most like sci-fi like civilization thing that we've ever seen, I think, in this series. And I think that says a lot. Like, they continue to make Europa have all these different feels. You have the feel when you're out in the snow. You have different feels in the Lost sectors when you're dealing with Vex Radiolorian fluid. When you're dealing with like the ancient fallen city. They've converted one of the Europa cities into that. Climbing all the buildings. Going up all these different elevators and grav lifts to get into there, to break into that city, or to go into their facilities where they make their weapons. Like, there's so many different things, and like the scope of the world, just the skybox is amazing to see all these old skyscrapers that are protruding out of the snow. And when you go deep, like into the Clovis Bray facility, sometimes you see some of those buildings.
Yeah.
You do the Glassway strike, and you've got this gigantic Vex gate in front of you that it is strongly implied that is Clovis Bray's Vex portal that goes to the Vex Forge. I still think that's going to be part of the raid somehow.
Yeah, I do too. I feel like you're going to go in there and like it's kind of going to be like Vault of Glass, where like you see the outside of it, right? And like some of the strikes and stuff take place with inside of it, but like that's your portal into the raid almost, or like part of the raid. I feel like that. It looks cool.
I think so too. I think I've been pretty adamant the last couple of weeks, the more that we've learned from the Collector's Edition and now from the lore in game, that when the Deep Stone Crypt, they keep showing us images of the Clovis Bray facility. So I think it'll start there, but I absolutely think that probably the back half or back third of it will absolutely be in a Vex installation of some sort that is far away.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the lore that comes out of the raid. I'm so excited. As soon as that lore book is like officially released, regardless if I finish it or not, we will break that down sometime in December, 100%. Yeah. Any lore associated with the raid, because that's gonna be such a humongous deep dive. I can't wait.
I know. I can't wait to hear about it. So you want to touch on anything else before we get out of here?
No. I think the only other thing, I'm looking over the TWAB real quick to make sure there's nothing that we missed. And I don't think that there is. I mean, it's a lot of raid prep, a lot of patch notes with the loot notes we already talked about. There's a whole list of running issues. I'm not going to read those out. Y'all can go find those out for yourself in this week's TWAB. The only thing I would like to say is I know it's been a really rough time in this community the last couple of weeks. I mean, this release has not gone super smooth in terms of bugs, in terms of glitches, having to disable content, having to re-enable content. The vault is pretty clearly working as they intended. They were able to get this hotfix out a lot quicker than any of us thought they would. We thought it was just going to be something nerfing stasis, and it was a huge update. And now there's another update coming on Tuesday to fix the loot pools, and it's probably going to be a bigger fix, frankly. It won't be a hotfix.
Yeah.
We've still got the raid coming. We didn't have to delay the raid. Thank God. I think had you had to delay the raid, I think rightfully the community probably would have freaked out. I'd be like,
especially because
is the game in trouble?
Especially because, like, usually the raid comes out, like, 3 or 4 days after the expansion, and this one's 10, 11.
I think they made the right choice to delay the raid, especially given the stasis issues. I think that's precisely why they delayed it too. We're introducing all these new subclasses. And it's a brand new element on top of that. We need to see how this works with everything first and make sure nobody can do basically what Glad did and melt bosses in one hit.
Yeah.
Or get infinite super or something like that. I still fully expect there to be some absolutely bonkers glitch in the raid. So I can't wait to see what happens. I want to watch some runs after we do ours. The only other thing I would say is, a lot of the community I know is good with this, with giving constructive feedback and whatnot. Don't be one of those guys who goes in and starts screaming at the community managers. They are relaying messages from the dev team. It is not their fault. That is not an excuse to go seek out people from the dev team to harass either, though.
Yeah.
The calls I see on Twitter every single time an expansion comes out or a season comes out, calling for Luke Smith to be fired or for all the studio heads at Bungie to be sacked are ridiculous. I do think at a certain point when you keep having the same complaints about a release, there probably needs to be some questions and some serious discussion amongst studio leadership about why does this keep happening? Why have we not addressed this for like a third year in a row? Namely, the lack of weapons in your initial release, how people feel about seasonal content, etc. But that's not an excuse to go and harass devs or the community managers or anything like that. Like, for example, I really wish that there were new Crucible maps and new Gambit maps. I think it's egregious that we had a $40 release without either of those things.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely unacceptable that there's no maps for either of those on Europa or on the moon that were added. I think, or in the Cosmodrome.
The Cosmodrome is bigger to me than Europa, because like I feel like, I mean, not that like the Crucible maps are take place within the world map or whatever, but like I feel like Europa has that dynamic weather. I mean, which it could make some cool Crucible maps, honestly, but like maybe they're trying to figure out how to balance the real-time weather effects and everything. Like, I don't know, but yeah, the Cosmodrome Crucible maps not being in there is like, come on now. Even if they pulled old ones, So
yeah, I just think, frankly, it's laziness at a certain point. So we'll see what happens in subsequent seasons. I do think that they're probably saving new Crucible maps for the Trials refresh that's coming, not next season, but the season after, which I still think is way too long to wait for new content. But if that's what happens, that's what happens, unfortunately. Gambit, I think, is the bigger sufferer here.
Yeah.
There's not a pool to pull from with Gambit, and I can tell you right now, I've played probably 10 matches of Gambit, and they've all been on 2 maps. They've all been on either Mars or the one map on Earth.
Yeah.
And it's just the worst.
Yeah. Those are the maps I played in Gambit too.
Yeah, those are the 2 modes I definitely think need a little bit of love. I think they're a little gun-shy to do too much with Gambit, since they just basically fixed Gambit. It's a much more enjoyable mode now, even if you get mercied a lot more. It's more fun to me now. It's a lot quicker. It's a combination of Prime and regular Gambit. We'll go into this more in a future episode, but if you're going to do all those changes, I think you need to introduce some new maps too. That's all. I'm just going to keep coming back to that. Like that and the loot concerns are probably my 2 biggest complaints right now with this game. I still think Beyond Light is a really, really solid new entry. Europa is the biggest zone they've ever done by far.
It's so big, dude. It's so big. That's the other thing, though.
Bungie had a fast travel point up north.
I was gonna say that. I'm like, give me another fast travel point. Like, I mean, Varix is like, yeah, technically he's in the middle, but there's like, we need one up north for sure. It's bad. So, I don't know. Is there anything else before we kind of get out of here?
Nope, I think that's it.
All right. We're not doing a live show next week. I don't know if there will be a show next week. If there is, it'll be maybe, Josh, if you just want to record a Skype call with Nerd and Colonel about the raid stuff, because like if I'm not doing it, there's not much for me to say.
Yeah, we'll see how the raid goes. I definitely don't want to. If none of us is able to clear it this week or next, we'll wait until Corey and I reassemble the first week of December to discuss the raid, because by then a lot of people will have completed it. If we manage to get through it before then yeah, I'll set up a Skype call. We'll do a bonus episode talking about the Deepstone Crypt, and about it, maybe about its lore, about the storyline behind it, etc. As people start finding the weapons and getting that new raid exotic, which I'm really excited to see what it is. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I can't wait to like actually try to run a raid again. I'm kind of disappointed I won't be able to join you guys this weekend, but there's plenty more weekends to come, as they say. So I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. You can find us on Twitter at Tower Casuals. You can find all of our content on bossrushgames.com. Remember to like, subscribe, share, rate, and review wherever you consume this podcast. Josh, where can we find you?
On Twitter at Josh_Finn with 2 N's, and on twitch.tv/Josh_Finn. I've been streaming a lot of Destiny, streamed all the campaign, been doing a lot of side quests. I will be streaming our attempt at the Deepstone Crypt starting at 12 p.m. Central Time on Saturday when the raid opens up. I will be streaming that. So if you want to laugh along with the rest of us at how just terribly this is going to go, for a little bit, I would encourage you to come hang out.
No, world's first, Josh. World's first.
Crack a beer or a Red Bull or something. Laugh along with us for as long as we... Or both. I do not recommend it, but or both.
Stir them up. Mix them together.
See how long we can keep our sanity trying to get through. The goal is to at least finish the first encounter on Saturday. That is our goal, is to at least figure out the first encounter, and then we'll see what happens after that. So,
you can find me at IamCoreyNHC on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on a plethora of other shows, including the one that Josh and I are on, Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast. Like I said, our family shows, probably no shows next week unless there's some bonus stuff that people record. But it's a holiday here in America called Thanksgiving. So, we'll be returning the first week of December for our family of shows. I want to thank everybody so much for watching. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.